America, the land of the free, once wrestled with a peculiar paradox: the prohibition of alcohol. The seeds of this social experiment were sown in the late 19th century. A growing temperance movement, fueled by religious fervour and social concerns, blamed alcohol for a litany of societal ills. Domestic violence, poverty and crime were all laid at the feet of the demon drink. Powerful organisations like the Anti-Saloon League lobbied tirelessly for prohibition. They argued that banning alcohol would usher in a new era of morality, productivity and prosperity. Their message resonated with a nation grappling with rapid industrialisation, urbanisation and immigration. The outbreak of World War I further fuelled the fire. Conserving grain for food and casting a wary eye on German-American brewers, many saw prohibition as a patriotic duty. In 1919, the 18th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified, prohibiting the manufacture, sale and transportation of intoxicating liquors. It was a triumph for the temperance movement, a victory they believed would usher in a brighter, more virtuous America. Little did they know they were opening Pandora's box, unleashing a chain of unintended consequences that would forever alter the fabric of American society. The stage was set for a grand social experiment, one that would pit the law against human desire and forever change the course of American history. On January 17, 1920, the 18th Amendment went into effect, and America went dry. Initially, there was a sense of optimism. Saloons closed their doors, and arrests for public drunkenness declined. Proponents of prohibition celebrated, believing they had struck a blow for morality and progress. However, the thirst for alcohol did not simply vanish. It was driven underground, creating a thriving black market. Enterprising individuals, sensing an opportunity, stepped in to fill the void left by legitimate businesses. Bootleggers, smugglers and illegal distilleries flourished, supplying the insatiable demand for liquor. Law enforcement, tasked with enforcing the unenforceable, struggled to keep pace. Bribery and corruption became rampant, as did violent turf wars between rival gangs vying for control of the lucrative black market. The Volstead Act, passed to enforce the 18th Amendment, proved woefully inadequate. It lacked the resources and manpower to effectively police a nation determined to have its drink. The stage was set for the rise of organised crime, a shadowy underworld that would thrive in the darkness of prohibition. A new breed of outlaw was about to emerge, one that would capture the imagination and strike fear into the heart of America. The Prohibition era, far from being a period of sobriety and virtue, became synonymous with the Roaring Twenties, an era of unprecedented hedonism and lawlessness. Speakeasies, clandestine drinking dens, often hidden in plain sight, sprung up in cities and towns across the nation. Jazz music filled the air, flappers danced the Charleston, and illegal liquor flowed freely. It was a time of gangsters and bootleggers. Figures like Al Capone, Bugs Moran, and Lucky Luciano became household names, their exploits romanticized in newspapers and on the silver screen. These cunning entrepreneurs built criminal empires on the back of illegal alcohol, amassing fortunes and wielding immense power. The violence associated with this illicit trade became impossible to ignore. Rival gangs, vying for control of territory and profits, engaged in bloody turf wars. The St. Valentine's Day massacre of 1929, in which 7 members of Bugs Moran's gang were gunned down in cold blood by Capone's men, shocked the nation and exposed the dark underbelly of the Prohibition era. The noble experiment was failing. Instead of creating a more virtuous society, it had spawned a culture of crime, violence and corruption. The American public, disillusioned and yearning for a return to normalcy, began to question the wisdom of prohibition. The social costs of prohibition extended far beyond the rise of organised crime. The quality of liquor, often produced in makeshift distilleries with little regard for safety, was questionable at best and deadly at worst. Thousands of Americans died from consuming tainted alcohol. The government, deprived of significant tax revenue from alcohol sales, faced budgetary shortfalls. The courts, law enforcement agencies and prisons were all overburdened. The resources that could have been used to address pressing social issues were instead diverted to the impossible task of enforcing an unpopular law. Perhaps most significantly, Prohibition eroded respect for the law. Millions of Americans, from ordinary citizens to prominent figures, openly flouted the ban. This disregard for authority seeped into other areas of society, undermining the rule of law and creating a climate of cynicism and disillusionment. By the early 1930s, it was clear that Prohibition had failed to achieve its intended goals. Instead, it had created a host of unintended consequences that were tearing at the fabric of American society. The time had come to re-evaluate this grand social experiment and consider a different path.